everyone. I'm Gabriela Dragomir, founder and CEO of Brainstorm Strategy. And today I'm very, very pleased because today is with me Gabriela Rogati Pinges, Travel Counsel, and she will tell us more about tourism in these times and many, many other hits. Welcome, Gabriela.
Thank you very much for having me. It's great.
Gabriela, let's start with my first question. What is your entrepreneurial story?
So if I'm to really go back to the roots, I guess it started about 30 years ago when I was 8 and I started working in my parents' shop. So my parents had a little shop and they got me involved from that young age, and I think that's where my passion for sales and just people came from, and then I carried on with that in high school. So I studied travel and tourism, and then I carried on doing that for university. Then I moved to UK, started working in hospitality and travel, and then I did a strategic tourism management master's degree as well. And then I worked as a group's travel agent. I also worked as a business development manager for a tour operator. Mm-hmm. And then finally launched my Travel Counsellors business. So I consider my journey for the last 30 years, really, but as my own business from about 9 months ago. I also helped my parents run their own family business, which is actually called Villa Gabriela, which is a bed and breakfast in Romania.
Wow.
that was before coming to UK. Yeah.
With Travel Counsel, to whom do you add value?
So I work with a variety of clientele. So I work with leisure clients, corporate clients. I also specialize in groups and MICE, so that is meetings, incentives, conferences, and events. So in terms of leisure travel, I guess our target clients, or the clients that we add the most value to, are the ones that are really time poor. The ones that really don't like researching for hours and trying to find necessarily the cheapest deal. We offer great value for money, and we offer a full concierge service. So we add a lot of detailed research, a lot of options, and we are with the clients from A to Z, holding their hand along the way. So I think for people that really appreciate that, people that really don't want to organize their own, that's where we add the most value. So we become friends with our leisure clients. We get to know them quite personally. We get to know what they like, what they don't like. In terms of corporate clients and groups, we become part of their team. Mm-hmm. So we have quite a strong, close relationship with them. Sometimes they want us to travel on the road with them as well. So that's great. But really, they trust us as experts to do what we do best, just so they can do what they do best, and not necessarily have the HR manager, office manager, PA spending those hours and hours and hours of research. Also to be protected, of course, in terms of atoll protection, financial trust, everything that's really handy in the current times, and not only.
Gabriela, every business have some core values. What is your core values?
So if I am to think of a few that are, of course, really important to me in business, but also personally, trust, honesty. So I'm very ethical with everything I do. I will always try and give the best to the client, not the best for me. It's what we're all about. The Travel Counsellors, it's all very personal. So every client is completely different. I will always work hard until I find what's best for them, and try to keep my own opinions out of it, which sometimes as agents is quite hard to do, but we have to do that. We have to be impartial. So trust, honesty, being ethical, and of course family. So remembering why we do everything we do, and why do we work hard every day, and generally that is to have time with our family, to provide a certain lifestyle that we would like to have, And this is why I chose Travel Counsellors as well, because we have full flexibility with our schedules. We work from home, we run our own businesses, but we are part of the franchise, which is a worldwide business that supports us.
I know you are mom of two. How you keep your balance between business and life? Because you have a dynamic life, especially on this tourism area when everyone need yesterday the courts or something else from your side. How you manage? How you manage this dynamic life between work and personal life?
So I think, as everyone, we try to keep a balance. So I think there are a few things there with my business. My family understand that sometimes I have to prioritize the business. So sometimes if I have to work in the evening, my husband understands that because it is for something important. If I have to work at a weekend, I'm also flexible with that. But obviously I try not to make it a habit. It's just something that I think is really worthwhile doing. In terms of the other way around, my clients will also understand when I need some time for my family. And through our Travel Counsellors family, because we do really talk about it this way, we have 1,900 Travel Counsellors worldwide. So the beauty of that is that if I am not available, I can leave a buddy travel counsellor in charge, and they can help my clients. So if I am to go away on holiday and so on, not that we take holidays, obviously not. We are the last ones to go on holiday, you know.
I know.
And the last holiday to plan is generally mine, you know. Generally my clients are here, but yeah, I think it's also just about setting expectations. So whenever I speak to a client, and I had many inquiries this week, for an example. So we as business owners sometimes tend to think everything is really urgent, but actually it isn't. If you ask the client, some clients think, yes, you know, as long as you get this to me by the end of the week, that's absolutely fine. They are not in a rush, so you shouldn't also be in a rush. If a client says to me, I do need this by tomorrow, then I will absolutely put it at the top of the list. So I think it's all about setting expectations. A lot of quotes that we do can potentially take weeks until we get that perfect itinerary, the perfect combination of everything they do. So I'm doing a quote, for an example, for a South Africa client next year, and they are doing a safari followed by Cape Town Rugby Lions, a rugby tickets in Cape Town, and Cape Town sightseeing, followed by a luxury beach break in Mauritius or Seychelles. Now, as you can imagine, that is not an itinerary that you just make happen overnight, because there are so many different details, options to discuss. So we go into setting client expectations, and then we work with that. In terms of family life, I think what I aim to do, and I say aim to do, is just to organize myself really well every day, and try to also prioritize family life, exercise, eating good food. So kind of looking after myself first, and then the business after, I think, is the hardest thing. But we should do that. But working on it.
At some point you steal my next question about I want to ask you about your daily routine, how you manage to keep this balance. You have a special routine, you wake up in a special time in the morning, you do exercise, and you answer me to the question, because when we drive our business, we need lots of passions and energy. What is your theory of human motivation?
So I was reading a book by Brendan Burchard recently, so High Performance Habits, and something, I mean, everyone has their own different theory. Motivation is one of those things, and a lot of people say, you know, motivation gets you started, but resilience and perseverance is what keeps you going, because it's one thing to have the motivation to get something started, and then if you don't carry on with it, then it doesn't go anywhere. Something that I read in that book really stayed with me, and I read it now in lockdown, which was, don't go when you start a business, or when you run a business, don't go and ask yourself, what does the world need? So ask yourself, what makes you feel alive? So for an example, I have this big passion about organizing groups and meetings and incentives, conferences, events. Absolutely, I love leisure travel too, but that is my really big passion. So it's one thing to go and say, okay, what does the world need? And that is, of course, the first thing that we focus on as well. But what does make you feel alive? And if you chase that, then automatically you'll be happy. And what the world needs is just happy people, and people that are on a daily basis very content and very driven with what they do. Otherwise, if we try to set ourselves some targets that are not really in line with what we feel, I think we're just not going to be getting the same results, basically.
You talk about persistence, and when I have some ideas, I'm very persistent in these ideas. How long do you stick with an idea before you giving up?
I think it depends what the idea is, and you have to be really flexible. So, being stubborn is something that sometimes is good and sometimes is bad. It just depends. If you have that as a character trait, and I think a lot of people do, I definitely do. But, so for example, I wanted to become a travel counsellor for the last 5 years. Now, I asked the question 5 years ago, and it was when I was on maternity with my daughter, and I asked the question on whether I can do this as a part-time job and have another part-time job. And the answer was not really. If you become a travel counsellor, you're in for good, and it's your main business, and you just really, really focus on it. And now, of course, that I'm in it, I understand why, because you really should focus on it completely. Now, that was an idea that I had 5 years ago. I did stick with it, but not in a really stubborn way, just in okay, I'm going to park this, and this is definitely something I would like to do in the future. But realistically, currently, I need to get a job, I need to do this, I have a young daughter, and so on. Now, as things progressed, the right time came. So I think it's also, when is the right time? So you could have the idea and be quite stubborn and persevere, but at the right time. If I have an idea and I keep trying to work on it and it doesn't go anywhere, I do probably change what I want to get out of it, because otherwise, if it's not going anywhere, then there's no point to consume your energy towards it. At least that's how I think.
Many times we work so hard, and we lose the small moments when we achieve something very important in our business. We forget to celebrate small things. What is your greatest entrepreneurial achievement, and you are very, very proud of?
So I guess it's not just one. If I'm to think over the last year, because of course that reflects more my own business, my journey. So the first one would be just to launch my travel counsellors business, because obviously it is a leap of faith. You are going in from an employed person to a self-employed person. You are launching your business. It is the unknown. So that would be one, just having that faith that I can make it work. And I am absolutely convinced that was the right choice, despite having a worldwide pandemic happening at the moment. So that would be my second one. My second one would be surviving through COVID and actually sticking, with it. So, sometimes if we have hard times, and don't get me wrong, a worldwide crisis is kind of as hard as it gets for the travel industry. But I said to myself to stick to, to just really stick with it, continue with business development, continue with networking, continue with everything. And as soon as the world started reopening 3 weeks ago, we have seen an absolute boom in inquiries, and I have been as busy for the last 3 weeks as I was before lockdown. So it does go to show that there's actually so much pent-up demand that I wouldn't maybe go as far as saying that we'll almost make up for it, but it will be really, really booming. So, and as you probably have seen on the news last night, we did get some news about Spain and quarantine and so on. So things like that will happen. It doesn't mean that the rest of the world is not open. Some of them might reinforce quarantine rules and so on, but we will just carry on going. So that will be my second one. And my third one will be that I have helped to build, I don't know if you know BNI, so Business Networking International. So I have helped build a group from scratch in Milton Keynes. It's called BNI Apollo, which all started with a conversation last September. Then we had our first meeting last December, and we are now on 24 members. So we are launching officially in September. And so that will be a whole 1 year journey from that first idea to when it's actually happening. And I will be leading it as a president. So that makes me very proud. And it goes, thank you. And it goes hand in hand with my Travel Counsellors business. So BNI is all about referral marketing. So people you know, like and trust, referring business to them. And of course, receiving business referrals from them.
We've been in lockdown, but you look to be very, very busy entrepreneur. Gabriela, running a business, it's all the time bring lots of stress and frustration. How do you manage these two emotions?
I actually think it does bring some stress and some frustration, but for me it actually brings less than sometimes being employed. So yeah, I mean, I know it's a really controversial one, but when I was employed, and don't get me wrong, I had some amazing jobs and I love the companies and so on, but when you are employed, of course, certain systems are in place, certain management rules, certain just everything is kind of set. And if you do have a new idea, it generally has to go through certain managers, and it might get approved, it might not get approved. It's one of those. So for me, at times that was stressful and frustrating. While now I have the freedom to try certain ideas, and like you said, do you persevere with it or do you just leave it, depending on how successful it is. But in terms of running your own business, yes, I do think it can be stressful and frustrating at times. And also it is very intense for us in the travel industry because of that tendency that we have to just be really reactive and really always reply to an email, reply to a message, and, be ready with a quote straight away. But actually, I think in terms of the joy and happiness that it brings, overall, it really balances out.
And in my point of view, a success in business mean to have discipline, to be perseverant, to be able to go on life learning, to learn all the time. You believe it's in some point it's their winning formula of success, or what is your point of view about success?
Yes, I mean, I think you always keep trying different things. I think that's probably the success formula. You know, just keep trying different formulas, and then you just keep trying different things and keep persevering. But I think inspiration plus resilience, that's what I would say, plus relationships. So I'd say the formula for success for me personally: inspiration, of course, you need, because right, with an idea, with being inspired about something. Resilience is what keeps you going, because times will be hard, times will be, you know, things will happen, and if you are resilient, you continue going. And relationships, I think it is all about relationships. So from when I started my own business, and you said about lifelong learning, yes, absolutely. So Travel Counsellors is a massive community that I continue to work with, and I have relationships with head office staff, with other travel counsellors, with suppliers. So it's a multi-tier relationship scheme, basically. Then I have my BNI group. So again, that's all about relationships with other business owners in Milton Keynes. Then I'm actually in a mastermind program. So I joined the mastermind program last December, and that is run by Catherine Morgan, who is a financial coach, and she's absolutely amazing. And I'm in her program for 12 months. So that is from January until December. And when COVID started, I had these three communities: Travel Counsellors, BNI, and my mastermind, continuously pushing me in the right direction and continuously supporting me, and I was supporting them, of course, the other way around. So I think relationships are so important. But yes, inspiration, resilience, and relationships. That would be my formula.
What is your favorite metaphor for describe entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so that's a funny one. I mean, I'm sure there are many. One that again I saw in lockdown and I liked, and this was quite at the beginning of lockdown, and I can't actually remember who said it, but it was one about how a pessimist sees the challenges in each opportunity, and an optimist sees every opportunity in each challenge. So I think generally there are two types of people, basically. And when you suggest something, they'll either go, oh, but the problem about this would be this, you know, or they go, oh, okay, well, that's a great idea. What we could do with that is this. and I think that is a natural tendency that we all have. Obviously, you know, you can still see the negative sides. I'm not saying be completely, you know, off with your ideas and so on, but I think generally I am an optimist. I'm very realistic as well with what I think I can achieve and what is possible. But I do see an opportunity in each challenge. So in the current times, for an example, just to give you a Travel Counsellors example, Travel Counsellors have won the Queen's Award for the third time for international trade. This was in lockdown. So that's one thing. Martin Lewis with Money Saving Expert. He ran surveys on companies, how did they perform in terms of refunds in the COVID crisis. And he ran it twice, this survey, and we came up number one both times. So it is a really great opportunity for us to show why we are so good. Also, we haven't been furloughed. So we are all business owners, 1,900 business owners. We have worked every day. We have answered emails. We have answered phone calls. You know, there has not been a call center that you just can't get through. So we have shown our customers even more the value of booking through us. So that was an opportunity. And now a lot of clients are leaving whoever they booked through before because of the service they got given during this crisis. So even more so, we are seeing both leisure and corporate clients overflowing to us.
Mm-hmm.
So you could see it really negatively. Oh my God, it's the end of the travel industry. It's not. They will travel. It might just not be this year. It might be next year. But we will reap the benefits because how we've performed. So there you go.
You mentioned opportunities. How do you identify your business opportunities for yourself?
Yes, so we travel counsellors are all based on referrals and word of mouth, so and repeat business, so referrals and repeat. And what we do really is you will never see us advertise. We're not on TV, in magazines, anything like that, because we don't need to. It's all based on people referring us. So a lot of my opportunities come from BNI, because that's what BNI is about, just referring business to each other. A lot of them come from my LinkedIn contacts, and obviously that's how we met, so that's great. and I will actively look on LinkedIn for new contacts, new opportunities, and just people that are in line with my style and my values. Of course, I will not do the classic connect, approach them straight away and say, would you like to book something with me? Because that would just alienate people, you know, and they would probably just delete me or block me straight away. So it's all about a relationship that you develop, and I would always ask them to tell me more about their business, and I would love to learn more about them first, and then of course at some point they will know about me and what I do, and hopefully refer business. And friends and family, of course, my personal network, so my personal Facebook profile. I haven't got a business Facebook page. I have just my LinkedIn for business. But yes, between these networks and of course my mastermind group, I'm never short for inquiries. Definitely not since the world has reopened. It's all going high.
If you meet someone today who want just to start a new business, what is your piece of advice for her or she or he?
So I think it really depends what type of business it is. If so let's start with, if someone wants to become a travel counsellor, we will always tell them the good, the bad and the ugly, as they say, you know. So we will highlight, and I have a few people talking to me about this at the moment, because of course the travel industry might be making redundancies, or just some people might find themselves without a job, and they might have been considering becoming a travel counsellor for a very long time, and now is the right opportunity for them. Or business owners that were running their own agencies or their own, for an example, event management companies, but they can't sustain it in the current climate. But if they come to travel counsellors and they set it up as a travel counsellor's business with the support of the franchise, they can still continue operating with those clients with our support. So I think my advice would be, if they're passionate about it and they're very entrepreneurial, because I think a lot of people, for example, becoming a travel counsellor, some people might think, oh, well, I have the experience. I have worked in travel for a very long time. It's a totally different ball game. You know, it's one thing to work and get inquiries, and it's one thing to have your own business and find your own business leads. It's completely different. So if your background is business development as well, like I did, I was a business development manager for about 6 years. I got that whole cycle of, you know, it doesn't matter how good you are, if you haven't got clients inquiring, then you've got no business. Well, actually, no, if you haven't got clients inquiring and booking, then you've got no business. you could have many inquiries, but if no one is booking, then you really haven't got a business, you know. So you have to just make sure that you are confident and driven enough to, one, find business. So be really, you know, put yourself out there, go networking, talk to everyone, just really, really go out there. Otherwise, if you'll stay at home and wait for the inquiries to come in, they are just not going to happen, you know. So, and then make sure you are driven enough to make it work, even when it will be really hard. And this is a classic example, the COVID. I don't think it gets any harder than this, you know. If it's a different business, I'd say, of course, be really passionate if you're really passionate about something, but also speak to some business coaches, speak to people that have done business for years, and just ask for their advice. Do a business plan, you know, just is it actually viable? Because it's one thing to have a really nice idea, and it's one thing to put it together as a business, and then realize there may be, it's really time consuming and the profit you're making is really tiny. So ideally you want it the other way around, obviously. Less time consuming and with a good profit, but obviously not at the beginning of the business, but with time.
And and you point something very, very important, to put the question to the right people, because when we are in the first days in our businesses, we are scared to put question, to go for the answer, because we think we are small, no one want to see us, or they don't have time to answer us. But many people are very happy and willing to share them expertise and to help you, and that is very, very good point. Gabriela, the last question: if you have the possibility to go back many years, 10 years, 20 years back, travel, what will be your advice for yourself?
I actually think, you know, I wouldn't change anything. It was all that, I think the journey is what brought me here, you know. So I definitely think every step along the way had its own purpose. So I wouldn't say necessarily that I would change anything. What I would say to myself is just exactly the same that I would say to anyone else. If you follow your passion and keep going, so keep driving that passion, you will do what you like. What I will always suggest is that people don't just settle for something because they think that they can't do something else. You know, even if that means a complete career change. You know, I have a friend that is a personal trainer who used to be an accountant, you know, and so, you know, you have to just go with what you think will work for you, and just keep believing in yourself. I guess that would be something that I would always say, well, to myself and to other people. It's hard at times, of course, you always doubt yourself, but I also think this is the key one.
You have strong beliefs, and you come from countries like our family beliefs are very, very strong. Don't move from the one job to other. Entrepreneurial life, it's hard, and many others beliefs. Talking about beliefs, I know I said it would be the last question. What was
That's okay.
what was the 3-4 beliefs you've been stuck all the time, or you've been in your way to achieve what you want to achieve?
So I wouldn't necessarily say that I had certain beliefs that have really been stopping me from doing things, but yes, of course. So yeah, in Romania, for example, it's exactly right. You do feel, for example, that you have to go to university before you could do anything. Now, when I moved to UK, I learned that UK is absolutely not like that. Obviously, a lot of people do go to university, but a lot of people don't. It doesn't mean that success is based on how many qualifications you have. There are very, very successful entrepreneurs that never went to university or even college, some of them, and they just self-taught or learned from mentors and so on. So that is definitely one that I think we have in Romania. Before you can do anything, you need to have so many diplomas. Otherwise, no one is even going to look at you, and that was one that I was really glad. So I went to high school, and then I went to university, and then I came to UK. So a lot of people would do a master's degree, for example, right after the bachelor's, right? Because that's the way it's done. And I did it about 7 years after, I think, after I finished my bachelor's. And I thought that was absolutely great, because by that point I had real experience and that was so much more useful. And I was looking at my colleagues that just finished their bachelor's, and their version of the world was so different than ours. A few of us that were already older, and so that's definitely one. You don't have to do so many, you don't necessarily have to go to university. You don't necessarily need to have a master's. Obviously, if you feel that it's going to be useful, absolutely. And also, if you feel that it will be useful for you to do certain qualifications in certain things, if you want to do some sales qualifications, if you want to do some negotiation ones, some networking ones, some anything that you think, NLP, do whatever you feel that is right for you. And I do definitely believe we need to continuously carry on learning. So it doesn't mean that because I'm here now I can stop learning. I need to continuously do that. So that's definitely one. The belief in yourself, I think I had that very strong from my family, because we are quite strong characters, and our parents did cultivate the believe in yourself, you're good at what you do, that's great. But I do see that a lot of people haven't got that, because in their families they were told to be quiet, to not express their opinion, to just it's not your place, you just need to do as you're told. And now
to keep
that works sometimes,
to keep your hand down, to be quiet. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, and especially as women, sometimes we can come across as bossy if we have an opinion, while for a man that might be that they're very assertive, or they're a good leader, without getting controversial here, on the whole male female. But I think you can be a woman, and you can be assertive, and you can be a leader, and you can continue being diplomatic and good at what you do. You don't necessarily have to be bossy, or you could be a good leader, and you could be a good entrepreneur as a woman as well. It doesn't, so I think there are a few that's another belief, actually. As women, sometimes we feel that it's not quite our place, but I do definitely believe it's our place. So yeah, that's just a couple.
Our place, because same like the men, they went out to ask for them place, and us like women, we need to go out and request our place. So nothing happen when you stay in comfort zone. Nothing happen when you stay close. You don't ask question, you don't do networking. Nothing happen when you don't build relationships, and many on.
And I saw that, for an example, when I first launched my business and I started going networking. So there are, of course, some networking groups that are only that are female only. So that is the rule. They don't accept men, basically. So, and I had this conversation with the other groups, and they said, you know, if we did that, if we had just a men only group, it would be really frowned upon. You know, but this is a female only, and that's okay, you know. But I went to different groups, and I think, you know, there was a little bit of a culture of saying, oh, you know, as women we network differently. You know, if I go to a group that has men as well, automatically I need to change my attitude, and I really didn't like that. I really didn't, that didn't align with my beliefs, because I have learned in my family that I can go out there and talk to anyone, not just to women, for an example, or just to men. And I have learned just through my different job experience and so on, to talk or have clients that are 18-year-old, or they are managing directors and CEOs of companies. And some will be women and some will be men, and that is absolutely fine. You know, so I went networking. I continued my research with networking, because there are so many groups in Milton Keynes. There are 60 business groups, so it's just crazy. And I chose BNI because it had the structure that we wanted. And yeah, I didn't think necessarily that I need a women only group, for an example, because I'm happy to network at all levels. So, but yes, absolutely, we need to go out there and actually ask for it. Otherwise, if we don't, then things are not just going to happen. You know.
Thank you so much, Gabriela, for your opening and your sharing wisdom with our community. And I wish you from all my heart best luck in this second part of the year. And keep going with great work. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you very much.
Bye-bye.